If you've worked with Visual Studio before, the process for executing a package will remind you of executing a program in debugging mode in other types of development projects. And in many ways, it's much the same. You enter debugging mode and can watch the various tasks or steps execute. You'll even be able to step through breakpoints once you learn how to add them to a package. But unlike working in ASP.NET or with Windows development, there's no build process, no visible compile process. Integration Services uses the package file you created as its instruction set. There's no need to build a binary before running it. You can execute an Integration Services package from within Data Tools in several ways. From the toolbar, you can click the green triangular Start Debugging button. From the Debug menu, you can select Start Debugging, or you can press F5. So again, if you're familiar with Visual Studio, same ways that you execute a program that you're writing within Visual Studio. At that point, the package begins to execute, and you'll be able to see its progress graphically. Control flow and data flow tasks get little indicators, turning yellow indicator when they execute, and then green upon completion, or red if an error occurs. And during execution, a new designer pane appears called Progress. On the Progress pane, the flow's objects change color and row counts may appear as the various steps and tasks execute. One important point, though, is that it's important to stop the debugging process before resuming work on the package design, but after reviewing the results. I'll show you how you do that in a moment, but you just press the Stop Debugging button on the toolbar, select Stop Debugging from the Debug menu, press Shift F5, or there's actually a link that appears within the package that you can click in order to stop debugging. Here I am back in the Export package within SQL Server Data Tools, and I have the Data Flow tab selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and click on this Start button, or I could hit F5, all the different ways of starting an executable program within Visual Studio. Now, watch very carefully because this is a small, simple package, not many rows involved, and so things are going to happen fairly quickly. All right, I'll go ahead and click it. And there you can see an output appears. And then we have these green indicators that all of these executed successfully. I'm going to get rid of that. Don't really need that. Now you couldn't really see the yellow. I'm not sure they even actually appeared just because everything happened so quickly. But you can see that it successfully read the data. So I get this little green icon there. Can't go up any further. Sometimes you get this indication of the number of rows that passed through the flow, in this case 847, and it was able to output all of the rows as indicated by, again, this green icon. But again, for any kind of data flow tasks, you'll probably get a yellow spinner as it processes data. Again, if maybe I had 847 million rows, we would definitely see those yellow spinners for a while. And again, there would be a red icon if anything went wrong with a particular task. And by default, the package would stop executing at that point. But you can define different responses to errors that occur. And notice that the Progress task tab appeared. And let me hide these. Okay, so you can see more. And there you can see all of the tasks that are involved in running even this very simple package. And in particular, there's a lot of validation steps and then various steps and so forth. Notice that there's a warning here. Could not open global shared memory to communicate with performance DLL. Data flow performance disappears a little quick. Data flow performance counters are not available. We haven't defined any, so that's not really a problem. Okay, but then you can see different levels of completion. And in fact, if you open up this pane and watch it during execution of a package that takes a little bit more time, you can actually see all of these tasks being added to this list here. Now, I'm not real thrilled with these icons here, but this is a case where a red icon is actually okay. It means that something's successfully finished. And it has some different times and so forth. But the nice thing here is that if any errors did occur, any problems occurred within the package executing, there would be error information here. And so, particularly as you're starting out, this is probably the first place you want to look for errors that occur, for information about them, so that you can resolve the problem. All right, at this point, you're still in debugging mode. The package is, strictly speaking, still executing. And you can tell that both because there's this continue button is disabled. You also have pause and stop debugging. And so I can pause debugging at this point, no real reason to because the package did execute. Or I could stop it there. But this is that link that I mentioned. Package execution completed with success. Click here to switch to design mode or select stop debugging from the debug menu. Okay, so I'm going to click on the link. Progress pane goes away. But now I have execution results, which displays all that. So that's really nice. This sticks around so I can still reference that as I'm fixing any errors. And then we can go back to the data flow or the control flow or whatever, because we're back in design mode. Okay, so let's go to the location of that contacts file. So it's an overview. And go up here to SSIS. Okay, there it is. And I can double click on that once again, open it in a notepad, and there's our output data. Now if we look at all those rows, there should be 847 rows of data because we know they all successfully got written out, plus one row because we specified that we wanted to include the column names here as the first row within the output file. All right, at this point, we've built our first integration services package from scratch. We added a single data flow task and defined source and destination components. The simple package is actually quite useful. And from here, you can build far more complex work and data flows to perform almost any kind of operation on data. Although the ability to run an integration services package from SQL Server Data Tools is vital to development and testing, that's where Data Tools' job is usually complete, unless you create a package to perform a one-time operation. Normally, you'll use Data Tools mainly for the development and testing phases on an integration services project. After you complete development, you'll typically deploy a package to a testing or staging server, and ultimately the package will go into production. But during the ongoing lifestyle of the package, there are several other mechanisms for running an integration services package. One way is through SQL Server Management Studio. This lets SQL Server administrators connect to the Integration Services Windows service and import, export, and execute packages by using the same tool that they use to manage their SQL Server instances. Another option is SQL Server Agent. This provides a scheduling component to the Integration Services environment. Administrators can create SQL Server Agent jobs to execute an unattended package on a schedule. And this is a great option to automatically handle import files that come in overnight from branch locations. Then there's also the SQL Server Execute Package utility, which is an executable file called dtexec.exe. This is a command line utility for executing packages, either manually or maybe from the Windows Task Scheduler. And then there's a graphical utility version of that execute package utility that has the file name dtexecui.exe. So this just provides essentially a user interface to the dtexec.exe. But it also lets you modify settings before running a package. And again, it's essentially a pretty front end to that command line utility. What I'm going to do now is execute that export package that we created within Data Tools using the graphical execute package utility. And what that'll do is it'll confirm the package configuration and then execute it. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is come to the Windows button here. And again, how you start this depends on your version of Windows. But I'm just going to type in the dtexecui.exe. And found it there and hit enter. Now that's not the only way to start it. There's a few other ways. You can navigate to the SQL Server item in the Programs menu in the Windows Start button, select Integration Services, and then select the Execute Package utility item. Or, because during installation the utility is set to be the default program for DTSX files, you can double-click a DTSX file in Windows Explorer and open the utility with the package directly loaded. And then also, DTExecUI is added to the system path when you install integration services. So lots of different ways, and it's hooked into as the default program for those package files. All right, first thing I need to do is the package source is the file system. Notice that disables these because I don't need to connect to a SQL server in order to access the package. And then I need to navigate to the package location. So I'll go down here to local disk and Learn Now, SSIS, Overview. Nope, oops, I actually installed that or put it in samples, AdventureWorks export. Okay, so it helps to remember where you save that package. Okay, so there's the export, and that creates that path for it. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and execute the package. So I'll click on that, and notice that we get the rough equivalent of that progress pane that we saw within Data Tools. But if I expand this, notice that we have some errors. We have some problems. So the first error here is cannot find the connection manager with ID, and it's GUID ID there, in the connection manager collection due to error code OXC0010009. The connection manager is in the, and you can't even see all of the, oh, there we go. Collection manager is not in the connection manager collection of OLEDB source. Verify that a connection manager in the connection manager collection, connections, has been created with that ID. Okay, and then that caused that OLEDB source to fail validation and to return an error. And then it progress validation, it's done. One or more components fast. So it's just some things cascaded down. So the bottom line here is that the package didn't execute successfully. Then very specifically, the utility couldn't find the connection manager with that specific ID. So that's just an internal value that uses to identify the components. Okay, so what's wrong? Well, to determine that, we need to take another look at the package. All right, so I'm going to click Close on that dialog box there. And I'm going to go to the Connection Managers item here. So notice that if I expand the columns here, we have the contacts for export, and the connection string is a file. So this is actually the Destination Connections Manager. But what's really weird here is that I know I created a connection manager for the source because it's reading the data from SQL Server. But it's not listed here, so the execute package utility can't see it. I know it's there, so it's got to be a bug in the execute package utility, right? Well, no. There's actually something different going on here. What you need to do is recall that when I created that initial connection manager, I created it as a project level connection manager. I came over here to Solution Explorer and created it right there. I then used it within the package here, but what's important is that it has that little leading project in parentheses there. So that means that it's using the project level connection manager. It's not stored within the package. So this is a problem. So I can't execute this package using the execute package utility as I currently have it configured. And unfortunately, this is one of the shortcomings of using the execute package utility, is that the package has to be entirely self-contained. It can't automatically include external resources like external connection managers. This is actually saved as a separate file, and that connection information is not incorporated into the package itself. So it has the benefit that I make a change here. It affects all packages that use that connection manager, but this package is not a standalone entity that I can execute using the execute package utility. Okay, now there's a number of ways to fix this problem. It's really not as big an issue as I'm making. I'm really using it to emphasize the difference between project level and package level connection managers. The easiest way to fix the problem is to convert this connection manager into a package connection manager. So this has the benefit of being simple. The downside is that any changes that you make to the connection manager will no longer affect the connection within other packages that use the connection. So it generally isn't the option that you want to use. And in fact, this is literally going to convert it to a package connection manager, not just import that and then leave it there. Okay, so it's a simple solution for our purposes here. Just be aware that there are some trade-offs in using this technique. And again, as you start managing packages using Management Studio and other tools, you get around this relatively easily. So don't be too worried about this problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come down here, Connection Managers, right-click on it, and I'm going to select this Convert to Package Connection. Okay, and it says when you convert a project connection to a package connection, packages that use the connection might not run. Well, yeah, they're not going to run because there's no longer a project level connection manager. So do you want to convert the project connection? Yeah, I'm going to. Do have the option of not showing this message again, but this is one case where you probably don't want to do that, because it'd be kind of easy to select that option and then as soon as you hit OK, or as soon as you select the option from the pop-up menu, if you select this option here, go, oh no, I used that in that other package. Okay, so not a good thing. Don't check that, but do whatever you want. And I'll click on OK. And notice that now it's still here within the package. That little project in parentheses is gone. And if I come back over here to Solution Explorer, it's now gone here as well. This is now truly only within this package. Okay, so some downsides, be careful. All right, so I will save the package once again. And then I will come back over to the Execute Package utility. So I don't think it's actually going to refresh that. So I'm actually going to close this, and I'll once again start the Execute Package utility. Just to do something different, I'll come over here to the Start menu, go down to All Programs, SQL Server 2012, Integration Services, and start the utility that way. All right, once again, have to start over, set File System, navigate to the package. There's Export right there. And now if I look at Connection Managers, see that both connection managers now appear because this is a package level connection manager. The package is now completely self-contained in terms of the resources that it needs in order to execute. All right, so I'll once again execute this. Dialog, much more promising. Validating completed, complete, successful, warning, same error, that global shared memory thing. Don't have to worry about that because we're not using that feature. And there it goes down, and all the different items, it finished, so forth, start, and all. Okay, so that time the package executed successfully. Okay, so at this point, you can once again use Windows Explorer, locate and open the contacts.txt file in Notepad and look at the contents, but it's the same as when we ran it within SQL Server Data Tools. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is that you shouldn't need to delete the contacts.txt file between executions, no matter how many times you execute the package or with what tool. Integration Services should overwrite the file. But you may get an error message in some Windows configurations that the file already exists. In that case, stop execution, delete the file, and then try again. Not a big deal.